Hello, beautiful ladies. Mwah, 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 mwah. Biggest love ever. I am joined by the amazing Aimee tonight. Here she comes. Dun, dun, dun,
I'm here.
dun. Beautiful. Aimee, we'll just wait for a couple more people to join in. There's lots of names that I recognize here in the group. Let me just put it on gallery so I can see everyone's faces. I can't see everyone's faces because they've got their videos turned off. Um, and Aimee, that's probably a really good place to start, right? Because what happens to ladies who have lipedema,
Oh, it's tough.
right?
We want to hide. We want to hide.
You want to hide.
Yeah. We have
Yeah.
been hiding our whole bodies, doesn't matter what stage you are, doesn't even matter what age you are, but we have learned very early on to really hide not only our bodies, but, it kind of disconnects us from our true self as well.
Yeah, yeah. I think that I've seen that on the early in the early days, and my goal when I would see my lymphedema clients, because I mainly had lymphedema clients. I didn't even know that lipedema existed. And my goal for them was to get them into wearing shorts and to get them wearing a skirt. And Leonie's like, no way. But on the weekend, I went down to the beach here at Cleveland, and there was a young mum, and I could tell that she has lipedema. And I can also tell that she's probably had stage one of, sorry, the first stage of surgery on her calves, because around her, you could see that her calves were a lot smaller than her thighs, than from her knees up. So it did look like she did have some surgery done. But she was in little shorts and she was playing with her daughter. She was at the beach. She was in front of everyone, and I couldn't stop smiling. I wanted to hug her. I wanted to high 10 her and say, babe, love you. Congratulations. Keep doing it. And but but then I'd feel like a dick.
Yeah,
So
it's hard even to know if you should be bringing up or approaching someone to say, hey, do you know about this condition? But that was one of the first things that I really did was fake it till you make it at the beach, was
yeah.
just laying down. I would not walk down to the water. Even as a stage one girl, I was just would not, plus I have a fear of sharks, but not walk down to the water and just lay there. And because that sunshine on your skin when you have this condition just it really exacerbates it. It just, the shadows really work well for us. But I think one thing that I've really, in that moment that, I was able to find self-acceptance and really work towards that and wear my bikini, my daughter having a pregnancy and seeing my body change so much, not knowing if I was going to progress, having the fear of progression, because that's what we're told, that it's a big moment in time for progression. And my legs looked very different, and I gained lots of weight. But I just in that moment decided that for my daughter who was about to join this world, that I never want her to perceive or think about her body the way I have, the judgment. I want her to, see her mother enjoying life and living it fully. And so that was then my journey from like, okay, how do I get other women to be able to be on this journey with me, no matter what stage they are, right? Because being a stage one, it's very easy to kind of people to look in and be like, yeah, but you're stage one, I'm later stage. And I have helped so many women in all different stages get into those swimmers, walk on the beach, go on holidays. And like, to me, I know it's really a mindset over what stage you are as well. It's, confidence isn't just about how we look physically.
So did you become a nutritionist to help with the having lipedema, or did you other way around. So tell us a little bit of your story.
So for me, I got this, this condition developed when I was at puberty. And I knew there was something something just wasn't quite right. I came from a very healthy family. We were very active, and I just had these fat knees. And I just, and a lot of cellulite at the age of 14, and it just didn't make sense. My mum didn't, have the same legs as me. And then I did develop PCOS, and I was always trying to heal my body, but I didn't really know what from. And it just, nothing was ever working. And then I started studying nutrition because of that, just being like, there's got to be a missing link. I knew food had a big impact on how my body changed and how it felt. And it was one of my friends went to Gabo Matt, do you know that guy? He's the beautiful counselor. And he was talking about how energy work, how the body, he has a book, I think it says the body like keeps score or it,
Oh, yes.
know that
Yes.
one.
Yes.
And it was my friend who she's a social worker. She works with, trauma children and stuff. And she said to me, Aimee, you can heal your body. And trauma might have a really big link to it. Started seeing an kinesiologist. And during that time, that's when I found out I had lipedema. And then that just started my healing journey. And obviously there's no cure as such, but I have been able to really shift towards acceptance. And with that, the way my body responds and reacts to so many things, it's remarkable, the change.
Are there any other women in your family? Do they have lipedema?
No. So I have 4 brothers and 1 sister. And my sister, does not. I would say that everyone in my family has some form of EDS. My siblings. Now, my brother.
Explain EDS.
Okay, the endless Dandelin syndrome. So, like for me, I definitely, with the connective tissue, around 50% of us have that, a lack of skin elasticity, the hypermobile joints. So 3 of my brothers have all dislocated their shoulders many times, had to have shoulder reconstructions. My sister can, put her fingers back to here, and she's had to have a lot of OT over the years for that. And 2 of my other, like of the siblings, have like the gastrointestinal kind of side to it. And, there's so many factors that come in. Now, one of my brothers, undiagnosed, he has exactly my body. We do, put on weight the same way. He doesn't like to wear clothes like I don't because of the pain and that feeling on our skin. He will gain 10 kilos in a week's holiday. And he has cellulite, and he was a professional boxer. So he looks like one of those 300 men. And then he just had these legs. And when he was boxing, he was known for always dropping his arms. Like, he was really good, but he'd just drop his arms because they were so heavy and tired. And so once I was diagnosed, just one day he was sitting here, and he's a big drinker. And so he was like, he goes, oh my gosh, every time after I drink, my legs are so painful. And I looked at him and I went, and then we just spoke about it. And he was just like, oh my gosh, I totally have this condition. And so, yeah, I don't think he would ever possibly go for a formal diagnosis, but it just shows how differently it can, show up in someone's body, especially the males, because we look at the males and they will say that, there's still like the obesity that comes along with it. My brother isn't. And he has, very fit 6-pack. But he also does have very high estrogen for a male.
So we're finding out a lot now that we're all born with a soup of genes, right? Everything. But it's the environment and what you go through, your life experiences, that will switch these genes on and off. So a lot of things that are coming down saying, oh, it's genetic, breast cancer, it's genetic, and all these different things are genetic. But now the research is showing, well, actually, It's the lifestyle, it's the environment that you're living in, it's the things that you're doing, it's the traumas that have happened to you, it's the thoughts in your head that are turning these things on and turning them off. And I really think that plays a big part in lipedema. Is it 1 in 9 women now in Australia, something like that, who have lipedema? I think only half of them know it. But
Mm.
I really think there has to be some switches that have been turned on with trauma, as we were talking about, and the environment and toxins and high levels of hormones or not. And yeah, what are your thoughts on that, Aimee?
Gosh, I love this question so much because I absolutely am a big believer that some trauma, especially like, yes, we're talking about the environment, something has been expressed. And for me, the reason why I think, first put that together was when I was going through puberty, my sister had a major accident. And it really, everyone in my family had, so like everyone came out of it in a different way. They were all at different ages. And I remember growing up, as I got towards my 20s and was just like, everyone seems to have either an emotional, impact from my sister. Some of them, turn to drugs and alcohol, like different things. And it was like, what did I like? I don't really have any of those things. And then it was like, oh, but I got the lipedema. And it
Mm.
was at puberty when this accident happened. And for me, at first, I always linked it to the PCOS, like, oh, this is strange that I got PCOS at puberty. And I remember working with Lara Bryden, and she was talking about the adrenal glands and stress and trauma. And I just kind of linked it all to that. Now, working with so many women with this condition, pretty much 90% have told something in their life that has been a traumatic event, whether it's something like me who's experienced a bit, my sister was run over by a car. She was in hospital for 6 months of her life when she was 3. This happened when she was 3 years old. So you
Same
can,
age as your baby now.
yeah, that actually makes me want to cry when I just said that out.
Yeah.
Because it's, yes, exactly my 3-year-old who's sleeping in the bed. That's her age. And she got burns to all of her back. Her ear was burnt off. And the impact it had on my family, my mum especially, it broke my family apart in the end. And I remember being a teenager and just thinking, how would my sister be able to face the world with her back and everything, which is really interesting that then that became my story with my legs.
Oh, you give me goosebumps, babe.
Yeah. So with the women that I've worked with, and this is like a lot of the work I do with them is that self-acceptance, but trying to like get to that true, authentic living, your nervous system regulation, because this is where I was talking about that book. Your body holds everything. It keeps score. It does not let go. You think you can eat all the food you want, healthy, doing all the right things for, this condition. But if we have not dealt with those traumas, our body will think that we're not safe. And when we're not safe, then all the things just start to, unravel, and our, hormones, cortisol, all those things are impacted. And that all is linked to inflammation.
Yeah, and a really good way to explain that. So a lot of people, they can't touch their toes. A good like test of flexibility is to be able to stand up and say, okay, touch your toes. And they go, oh, I can't do that because of my muscles or because like something's tight or I've torn this or something like that. But then if you go into surgery and you've given like they've knocked you out to go and have an operation, they're going to lift your leg straight up in the air like that.
Yes.
It's going to go straight up. So the thing that stops you is this.
Our brains.
Is the brain, is the past trauma. You can't do that. When you did that before, this happened. So I have to stop your leg moving and stretching. I have to, so it is this that we have to make okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if that's,
It's hard as well because we also, my generation was raised with, parent like a lot of there's a lot of core beliefs around we're not worthy enough, we're not good enough, the next generation, like what we're now raising, is to kind of a bit more gentler, which I know that older generations probably look at us and think, we're not making them tough enough and all those kind of things. But if we look at that link of when now as adults and where that comes from, we can kind of understand that even, like one client of mine, she would have a really hard time when I'd do these meditations with her, and she just couldn't and to connect to her inner child, and she couldn't connect. And she was like, but I really came from a loving family and I really didn't experience trauma. And so we were trying to kind of get to that, what has happened. But it's as simple as being unheard as a child, that your body perceives something, and then our core beliefs are created from that. So it's a really it's actually a really scary thing, especially when you've got a 3-year-old and you just think, I don't want to F them up,
Yeah.
but it's hard. You're going to do something. I think you just got to be there to apologize. And when they come to you and say, hey, mum, I feel this because of this, later on in life, just be like, it wasn't my intention, but how can I help you,
Yeah, yeah, that's beautiful. And like I know a lot of ladies on here now and talking about having children. So if you have been diagnosed with lipedema and you've come through this system, you're going to be really scared about having a child because you're going to think that there's a big chance here that my baby, if it's a girl, is going to have lipedema. And that in itself is a massive burden.
Yeah. Yeah. I had definitely had those thoughts for years. I actually never wanted a baby. That was a big thing. Before I even knew I had lipedema, I just thought, I guess just myself and having my own relationship with my mother, I was like, I would never want to be my mother. And as I went on my own healing journey, I was able to, I guess, release a lot of that stuff and realize I'm not my mother, and I'm a fantastic mother, so I know I'll never put those things onto my child. But I think as well, once you step towards that acceptance side, life is so damn amazing when you stop living on the sidelines, when you get up and walk down to that water at the beach, when you don't care what anyone else is thinking about you. And you can get there. It takes time, okay? And you have setbacks. Like I remember when I fell pregnant, and my body within the first 10 weeks, I'd gained 6 kilos. And I was like eating, I wasn't having anything, even like I didn't get cravings. I was morning sick, but I didn't get cravings, and I still ate my, way of eating, but I had to eat every hour. And I remember my skin laxicity just changed instantly with that pregnancy. And I was like, whoa. And I had to really start to do all the things I'd taught myself and learnt in my first time I kind of moved towards self-acceptance, and had to redo it. But once you start doing that, you realize that life is worth living. And so if my daughter does have this, that she, one, has a great role model, she two will, come from a family that eats well, and will understand what food does for you. And she will see her mum living life fully and authentically with this condition. So
Yeah.
it won't really be a burden.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
she'll know early. She'll know early so that we can slow down the progression that many, many, many of us have not been given that chance.
You've probably been in the same position as me quite a few times where you have to really choose how to approach really delicately a situation when you're talking to a woman who has not even heard of lipedema before, and to approach and because I can't now not from the people that I have spoken to and have seen the changes in their body language and have seen their interest, and then have seen their whole life change because the thoughts are, I'm fat. I've done this. People think that I eat KFC all day. Like all of those I've been to the doctor. Well, all of those things that they think, just to be able to help them by saying, you know what, that this is a condition. So now I can't help myself by gently, talk. I know that we can't diagnose all of those things, but to be able to say to someone, so let's now talk about the things that are signs of lipedema. Okay. So, yeah, did you want to talk about
Yeah.
that?
So especially early on. And I think as well, it's important if you do have daughters, even grandchildren, to know what we're looking for in those early signs. So for me, it was very much my knees. My knees were the telltale sign, because they just were chubby. Cellulite very early on. That was that is something that if you see a young woman, and it can be of any age as well, because you've got to remember that we can still develop this condition at pregnancy, menopause, but also certain surgeries, and those certain traumas to our lives. So I know women who have had a surgery or some kind of injury, and it's impacted them, and they've because it's turned on the gene. That's what we got to remember. It's turning on that gene. So looking for that cellulite, that's just like, and I'm sure most of the women in this community, once you've been diagnosed, you start to see it everywhere. So it just looks different. So for me, to explain it, there's, especially if you're at stage 1, you almost look like you're got obesity, but then you've shrunk the limb size. So it's got that shape to it, that lack of definition. And then it's, if I wake up, if I'm not inflamed, I'm, at one of my lowest weights, and I wake up in the morning, you really wouldn't be able to tell I have this condition. By the end of the evening, or if I've eaten something, or if gone for a long walk or exercise, you will notice. And especially that sun, especially as I'm getting older as well, because my skin, because I, am one of the 50% that has the laxicity in my skin. It can, I'm starting to not really hide it. I'm starting to look like someone who has been a woman who has lost a lot of weight, which I have never been 5 kilos over, except pregnancy. I definitely was 20 kilos overweight. It's not overweight when you're pregnant though, right? Because the baby, you're holding on to like 13 kilos. And I didn't even look like I had gained much in pregnancy, because we know that this lipedema weighs more than fat. So just looking for the bruising easily, like especially on the early sign, and a lot of people don't actually experience the pain. So pain wise, it's not actually a great sign. I didn't realize I had pain until I was diagnosed, because I actually just thought that was what was supposed to happen in the body. I thought that having my arm, rest up against the table just hurt, when it doesn't. And, like my brothers would pinch me, and it would ache for 5 minutes, but I just figured they were really strong and pinched me really hard. And I'm a really strong girl as well. So that's the other thing, it doesn't, weigh up. If you've got it in your arms, it's the fatigue, lifting your arms up. Anyone blow dry their hair? It is so tiring to blow dry your hair. I remember going snowboarding, and I was, me and my sister were together, and would be going down the mountain, and I would be ahead of her by a couple of 100 meters, and I had to keep stopping, and she would be like, "What are you doing? Are you okay?" And I'm like, "My legs are burning." They just were burning. So they're really things to just kind of look out for, and just that soft texture as well of the skin is another one really, really, a really easy sign to kind of feel the difference.
Spongy. It's like it's a spongy.
It's just, it just feels different. And so, like, to explain that to, someone that of my friends that are, in a larger body, when I touch them, they're tight, even though I'm skinnier. It just feels very, very different.
So ladies who are in Zoom, tell us in the comments, like, what was the first telltale sign for you? What did you notice first in your body? Was it something that people would pick out on you, and then you asked for advice? Or is there something that was a telltale sign that you didn't pick up? Let us know in the comments. So the other thing, Aimee, is that the shelf from the ankle, like down on the ankle, you can see the difference, the shelf, and then go down to the littler, smaller ankle.
Yes. And it's funny, because my ankles are smaller now than they were, say, when I was in my late teens to early 20s. My brothers used to call me cankles. As you know, brothers, aren't they like fabulous? They probably give us our first, body image issues. And I now, and I guess that was just, again, a lot of information. So as much as I came from a healthy family, you know, when you're a teenager, I used to come and get like I think it was like a picnic bar. I loved custard. So I'd go to the service station after school when I finally had, you know, some pocket money and I was in charge of my own food. And I would drink that. So, and Matt, like when I started dating my husband when I was 17, we'd go to McDonald's all the time. You'd go out drinking, like, you know, in Australia, we have a very big drinking culture. So from 17 to however many years, we're out every weekend drinking. So I think it wasn't until I started to, in my mid 20s, that reduced that inflammation.
Mm.
And then my ankles appeared. So
Yeah.
still even at the back, you can tell like they're just, and on the side, you know, my ankle goes in, not out,
Mm.
where the
Yeah.
bone.
Okay, so signs that we're looking for is like out of proportion legs, bruising and cellulite, bigger legs, bigger bum, a bit of a shelf around the ankles, sore to touch, feels squashy, bigger around the knees, heavy arms, heavier in your body. So feeling like you've got like a Michelin man suit on, I suppose, is one of the signs of lipedema.
Yeah, yeah. And stage one, like my legs have never been out of proportion to my body. That's the other thing. Even with a small waist, because I've also had it in my arms. So my arms and my legs were always, you know, never looked out of proportion. I always had that hourglass figure. So yeah, and so you don't have to have a pear shape. That's the other thing. That's another one that, and this is as it does, you know, progress, those things are going to, you know, be more prominent and to say. But I think when I first heard of this condition and I looked online, I didn't even look for. I literally put it out of my mind. It was like, I don't have that because of all the images online. So it wasn't until I kind of saw the word soft doughy skin that 6 months later that I went, oh, hang on, and I went and sought, you know, a diagnosis, and now we are seeing things, you know, catch up and show that the different types and everything. So yeah, they're the typical big ones that majority of people have. But there's, you know, it is really hard to see in the earlier stages.
Okay, I'm just going to run through some questions in that we've got in the chat. So, Shell, can I ask, is lipoderma sclerosis similar to lipo and lymphedema? So, I'm not sure what that big word is.
No,
Lipoderma sclerosis.
I don't know that condition. I'd have to.
We'll have to look that up. We can get back to you, Dylan. Um, okay, this is very impactful to hear. Once you know there is a full change in your mindset.
Yeah, it's I know I want everyone to realize this. Like I really think it's the biggest thing you can do for this condition is that working on the acceptance side, because we have this condition forever, no matter if you have surgery or not. You know, this is you know, the gene's been turned on. We've got this now, but there's so much we can do for it to help, and help our bodies work the best that they can. But life is so short. You don't want to be sitting on the sidelines forever.
Sue Ellen, about 6 months after my surgery, I ballooned up and looked like I was 40 weeks pregnant.
Or in your abdomen.
I think so. Sue Ellen, let us know, darling. Liana, even though I ate well, I could never lose the weight in certain areas. So that's a telltale sign.
Yeah, and
Well,
exactly. So that was the reason why I knew as well, was because I came from a really healthy family. Everyone else, you know, like, and I wasn't overweight, and I worked out a lot. I'd work out with my brother, who was a professional athlete, and I just couldn't tone my body. Like, and I remember even having thoughts of, what about if I became a bodybuilder and went in a bodybuilding comp? Would my fat go then? I remember going, do I need to go that strict to just see, or would that actually show that there's something up with my body?
Yeah. Sometimes you do have to push something too extreme, don't you, to get to find what's going wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Michelle, I cried when I heard of this condition a month ago and thought of all the work, effort that I did on diets and heartache of never keeping it off. And of course, losing so much on the top and then not on the bottom half. And people saying then that you look too thin. So you can be anorexic and have lipedema.
Yeah, and I think that really resonates with me because I cried as well because I felt so sad for what I'd done to my body over the years. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have starved myself over time. And then I really had to change the way I looked at it because one, I was like, actually, I've helped my body a lot, actually, as well. I have really helped it as much as I did punish it. But I also just had to go, you can't change what you didn't know back then.
Yeah.
And so now I know I have this information, I have the tools, or, even you might not have the tools just yet, but you have this little bit of information that you can go and get people to help you. You don't have to be a nutritionist yourself, but you've got all these wonderful practitioners out there that, you can get support around you to help you. And forgiveness. I forgave myself because I didn't know. I didn't know. If I knew, I wouldn't have. And we live in a society that really wants us to fit in this box that, we just, especially most women can't. And then you have this condition, you just really like where we've got another added, level that we're never going to be able to fit into the beauty standards of society.
One big thing, I don't know if you've heard about it, but it's my most favorite thing in the world. And if I get to a point where I'm in the corner and I'm feeling like I've got nothing, and I will just go to my Ho'oponopono.
No,
Have you?
never heard of that. No. No.
Ho'oponopono is and I'll put it into boob camp. I'll share it with everybody. But it's in a Hawaiian prayer. There's a 15-hour course I can give everyone, and it's about being able. You don't even have to look in the mirror, but you can say, no matter what, I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. And that's how you just clean the energy of yourself, and you clean the energy of people that are attached to you and that are around you. And I just find if I can just go, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, over and over again, and then just clean that. It took me like I've got nothing. I'm great. But even to me to look into the mirror and say I love you, so imagine somebody with lipedema who can't be the well, who's even heard of it like in the first place, this big L word. You can be like Colette, she's 64 and she only found out like five years ago. It's nothing that we ever put into the dream, into the picket fence, into what any other condition that we can have. We've all heard about cancer, and you can cure cancer, right? But look at this. We've
Yeah.
got no funding. Our doctors don't know about it. We're a group of women who are joining together now and cooperating together to help each other the best way that we can and support. And it's all coming back to we're talking about loving ourselves and accepting ourselves.
And that one's a really hard one because how can you love yourself when you have felt so unlovable? Because the world has told us that we are really only worthy of love if we look a certain way. So that's already a big obstacle we have as this condition to get over. So if someone went to go and do your prayer and they wanted to say I love, that I love you, all those kind of things, and if you find those words really hard, which so many women would, that's okay. Just, take the baby steps and don't look in the mirror. That's one of my biggest tips is actually you do not have to look in the mirror. You can, I find just walking past or, making sure you don't look down just for a while. It's about until we get to that place where we, do feel it in us to be able to say it, look in ourselves. But also when you look at yourself, because there's mirrors everywhere. I know a lot of women don't have mirrors in their house because of this reason, but you might be in a hotel or whatever. Just try and not think good or bad. So literally just just really try and like just have nothing if you have to at first, until we can slowly get to a place that we can start to look at ourselves and go, hey, okay, actually.
Actually, your ears are really nice. Like just start with one thing. Look at my ears. Like I have got pretty sexy ears. And if you just start by loving that, like one, like you, nose, straight teeth, this little bit of hair here, like something,
And
a
even
freckle.
it can even be qualities, right? So it can be
Yes.
more about like you being a kind friend. Like think about why people love you. So one of the big things I noticed when I was going through my journey to self-acceptance, everyone in my friend, and I was early 30s at this stage. Every one of my friends, everyone that I was noticing outside of my, friend circle, everyone had a problem with their body, as in what they perceived with their body. It didn't matter if they had this condition or not. I didn't have any friends that had this condition. I had one friend who literally is like a supermodel. Everyone has that one friend. They're close to 40 and they still look 16, their body. She would still like say something about her body when we we're going to the beach. And it made me sit back and just think, hang on, it really isn't about how our bodies look. It's
Mm.
not, this condition really makes us feel that way. This condition really puts that big focus because we're not looking, we can't change our bodies. We're always, people who don't have this condition are trying to change their bodies. They're trying to seek perfection. People then, when we have this condition, we're trying to seek perfection, but we can't get there and we will never get there because of this condition. But watching them made me just kind of go, hang on, do I look at my friend who's even a model and I love her because she has the most beautiful legs in the world? No. Do I look at my friend who's a little bit larger, who doesn't even ever say anything about body and shows up, who she is? Do I care or think about her body in any way other than who she is? No. It's about, I love that person for who they are. It's got nothing to do with their physical attributes. And so that just helped me to kind of go, okay, let's look at things differently. And then when you go down, if you do go down to the beach or go down to the water, don't look at anyone in a good or bad way, because that actually is negative, even if we're looking at someone positively, because it
Okay.
makes the eyes of other people stronger on you. You will start to think that people are looking at you, but no one cares. And if someone does, then they've got something else going on, that they feel insecure or anything about themselves.
Okay, so I'm going to turn that around a little bit. If I'm down at the beach and I see a hunk of spunk of a man,
Yeah.
if I just like laser in on him, like he's going to turn around and go, Chelsey, I've been waiting for you my whole life. I'm going to try it. Harvey Bay this Easter.
Okay,
But
do it.
it's true. If you're running through a bush and through the forest and you focus on a tree, you're going to hit the tree,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
We just got to, I have women who I've worked with who they finally, like, we've done a lot of work together. Like, it's not just like you just walk off today and you're like, oh, yes, look, I've fully accept my body. It's a process. There's lots of components that need to go in to get there. But I want you today to just open that door this much, to let yourself have the door open, to one day be able to keep opening it wider so that you can fully, finally step through it. But I've had so many women who have been able to go to the, on the water slides with their kids, go to on their holiday with their husband and wear the swimmers that they haven't done. And these are all women who are, you know, 45 to 65. It's not the young girls who, like, if you're feeling like it's easier if you're the earlier stages or if you're younger, because it's these women aren't. I work with a lot of women in the later stages. We all carry this same shame and burden, and it's deep for all of us.
Mm. And I don't want mums to think that they gave it to their kids either. Like that's if you have like lipedema and then your child does, it's that guilt that can't help either. I just before you answer that, Mads, can you please copy, I don't know if you know how to, all of the comments that are coming in the chat box, because I don't think we're going to be able to get back to all of them. So, but we might be able to get back to them in boob camp. So, Mads, if you can please copy all of those comments for me. That would be amazing. Everyone's sharing their story in the comments, Aimee, and this is what it's about, right? And this is why you and I both closed our businesses to seeing one-on-one clients. We've made both of it, and I didn't know that you did too, until I, found out a little bit more about you. But we can see that our community needs us, and being one-on-one can be a little bit restrictive. But if we can see multiple people at a time and build this community, and especially with the lipedema, lymphedema, anything that relates to lymphatic congestion and lymphatic health, what have you seen in the change? And it was hard to do, wasn't it, to move from your one-on-one now to doing groups, to seeing groups of women?
Well, I think for me, the biggest, because I have my daughter, like I started my business, I was doing one-on-one, and then I've had my daughter and I've been a stay-at-home mum. So she's been my main priority. And I was like, I need to, how can I've for the last couple of years, I've had such a small window to be able to connect with women. So that's what made me go, I need to do it on a bigger scale. How can I do this? But there's such magic in group work. That's what I found, because especially with this condition, we need community. We need community. I think for me, stage one, I felt like I didn't belong in either. That when I was first diagnosed, I didn't belong in the regular world because I had this condition, and then I didn't feel like I belonged in the lipedema community because I was early stage and it wasn't really a known thing then. It was really the later stages. And I found my way, and I found a beautiful community, and I made my own community. But I think it's just brilliant. And I see so much more change with the group work in the women that participate compared to my one-on-one.
Sorry, you keep going.
No, I was just gonna say, like, as much as you can, there's so much you can do with the one-on-one, as in you're still getting great support. It's just a different kind of support, and it still feels lonely because you still go off and have to still figure it out on your own with a couple of my notes and suggestions.
And we don't know everything, right? You and I, we are not an expert in any of this. And I love to hear what other people bring to the table and teach me. Like, I love getting taught from everybody in my community. Like, what I'm learning a lot about now is this pelvic mesh, terrible, disgraceful operation and removal and insertion and all of that. So that's the next thing that I want to be talking about. But how that's opened up the door for me now, just talking to a lot of women and a lot of other professionals. There are so many women who are stage 4, stage 15, they're going to lose their life, and their legs are seeping. They've got no quality of life at all. And they're just told, oh, well, no, our beds are full. Nothing we can do. Nothing we can do. There is so many, oh, just sit and wait. There's nothing you can do. And it makes me so angry. Yeah. So can we start? We're going to start talking about now things that you can do to help. And when we normally talk about that, we start with just the for the person who is doing the conservative treatment and doing okay.
Yeah.
Can we start with the woman who is at her wit's end, who is not getting anywhere with the is getting thrown from one to the next, and is, doesn't know which way's up? Can we start with some gentle words there?
Well, I think most of us feel that way when we have this condition, in the sense that most likely you've come from trying every diet under the sun. You have seen multiple doctors and been told there's nothing wrong, you've got to just eat less and lose weight, or do more exercise. So I feel like there's a level of women just feeling so stuck. But I think a big thing is the disordered eating that comes with this community. So I think, and I'm sure a lot of women that are sitting here tonight in front of us have either experienced it or have got some kind of disordered eating. I had disordered eating. I was a binge eater, and I had to overcome that. And it was created from, one, My actual mother is also a binge eater. But it's also created because I was just trying to get rid of my cellulite from 14 years of age. And because this condition can be so relentless, you feel better when you don't eat. And that's a really hard thing, because for progression, we actually need to not have progression. We need to eat. We need to support all the processes in the body. So you've got this kind of scale here of, if I don't eat, I feel less inflamed. I feel amazing. I'm losing weight. I feel skinnier. But then we actually are going to cause us more damage in the long run, hormonally, our thyroids, that we can then cause progression. So I think so instead of being like, okay, let's go and do this, this, and this, and this, that's what we hear all the time. Hey, you've got this condition. You guys would do your own research. It's, you need to go do keto, or maybe I need to go stricter and do carnivore. Oh no, actually low carb's better for that. Or maybe I should do plant-based now. Which one am I supposed to do? And so you're going to kind of get on this merry-go-round and you're never going to get off. So the only way you can find, a sustainable route is you have to address that disordered eating first. So go heal your relationship with food. Work with someone. And it's, for me, when I talk about healing, there is not one avenue when it comes to, healing. Like, as in, if you need to go talk to a nutritionist, you might need to talk to a body image specialist. You might need to go to a kinesiologist. Like, there's a lot of things. And just remember, you are worth that money spent. I know times are tough and everything, but we got to do books. You might be one of those people that can literally just pick up a book and do a self-help book. That's how I cured my binge eating, is I did it all myself with books. So that's the first thing we want to kind of look at. And then we need to check if we're under eating. So that's the other thing. You're going to have disordered eating. That can be, but then we got to make sure that we're eating enough calories. Having 1,200 calories or 1,000 calories a day, a toddler eats that. And we're not toddlers. Toddlers also don't have hormones, that they need to sustain. So just we need to do that. And then my next step would be, before starting to cut things out, add some things in, your anti-inflammatory foods. So normally we just go, we can't eat this, we can't eat that, that's going to cause us this. Yes, it will. It will cause the inflammation and the pain. But if we can't start to add things in, we're never going to get to this place of finding a way of eating that is sustainable. So look at just right now where you are, trying to add things into your daily life, like, in your cooking every day, your turmeric, adding some blueberries into, what you eat in the day, a nice piece of, salmon, ginger, green leafy vegetables, cruciferous vegetables, garlic. These things are they're not too hard to add, and you don't have to add them all in one day. Again, baby steps. We don't have to add them all in. Then once we start to do that, then we can look at things. The biggest thing is the sugar. You can start trying a diet or a way of eating, whichever way you want to look at it. But it will be a diet if you do not do these things that I'm talking about, disordered eating, but also breaking up with sugar, because you're going to try this diet and sugar's always going to creep back in, and you're going to be back at the start where you were. So you need to break up with sugar, and you don't have to do it straight away. Like, as in, don't just go cold turkey. Cold turkey doesn't work. It's not about willpower. We need to do it in a sustainable way, slowly. Swap your raw sugar, your white sugar, cane sugar, maybe swap that to more of the unrefined sugars like the coconut sugar, maple syrups. There's sugar. It's still sugar. It's still going to cause you inflammation with this condition, but it's going to help us. It still comes with some nutrients. And then we can slowly start to cut that out. And then when we've kind of got there, that's when you can start to look at a way of eating. That's your choice, but you've got to think about which one is going to be the most sustainable for you, and think about your preferences. So is that keto? Is that a plant-based? Is that, my favorite, I just think the gold standard is a low carb way of eating for this condition, but it's about finding your carb tolerance and what works for you. We're not all the same because we are all have different bodies, and someone who has a lot of gut problems, digestive issues, they're not going to be able to handle, as many carbohydrates as say someone like I can. So we need to just make sure we find a way of eating that just works within our life as well. And the other thing, if you haven't fixed your disordered eating, you're going to find something like low carb, high fat, the parameters might be too wide. That might mean you stray too much from that. And this was interesting because I recently did a carnivore experiment. Worst month of my life, but I did it. And it was actually really interesting how I didn't crave food, but the food noise was really gone. And I could see how so many women do well on this way of eating because of the disordered eating that comes with this community. So we just won't see the benefits long term until we fix those things. That sounds like a lot when I'm trying to think, but I'm trying to give you guys ways
So,
that are different.
yeah. Can I just ask everybody in here who has lipedema, do you think you have some type of disordered eating? All right, let me know in the chat box, or let me know with a bit of a thumbs up. Do you think that you have some type of disorder when it comes to eating? Do you have to follow a diet?
Yep, because that can still be disordered.
Yes. To think of your way out, you have to have strict rules given on you. You can't just automatically have a day where you know that each meal you're going to have a fat, a protein, and a carbohydrate, and it's all good, and you're not craving the sugars all of the time, like that type of thing. You're not binging.
Not doing binge, not feeling guilty if you stray from your way of eating. If you eat a whole packet of chips and then feel terrible about it, that's still, food has control over you.
Yes, so there's lots of yeses.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm seeing Megan Pfeiffer. Karen said I'm seeing Megan Pfeiffer. I don't know who Megan Pfeiffer is. Karen, let us know. That was the original issue. So inflammation. It's about bringing down the inflammation, because if we're not doing that, then everything else is going to be an uphill battle.
Yeah. We have to cool the inflammation. We have to put that fire out because our body has this dysfunction, with the leaky vessels, and it's constantly going to be in that state of inflammation because it's actually trying to work overload to stop whatever the dysfunction is. And that's why we constantly have to do things with this condition, and we have to watch what we're eating. And that does make it hard. But talking about that inflammation, there are things that can add to the inflammation. Yes, we're talking about the sugar. Gluten is a big one as well. It's just, and I don't know if you guys have ever noticed, if you go, say, to somewhere like Italy and you can eat the pasta and not feel as inflamed, because we just, it's been modified here. We don't have the same crops as them. The stuff that they spray and we spray. Hopefully one day we go more of that direction. But those things, and then dairy would be my third thing, but I always put an asterisk next to dairy because I know so many of you women love dairy. Like my sister will eat a whole wheel of brie just for a snack. So I'm like, okay, let's not mess with the girls who love dairy so much, but possibly swapping that to an A2 type protein dairy. So the goats or the sheep's, and if you can do cheese or yogurt of those types instead of the milk. They're just easier to digest. But thinking of inflammation, it doesn't have to show up as soon as you eat it. It can take 3 days. So
it stays going through your body, like with that spike protein, is it 30 days gluten can stay in your body going around and putting holes throughout your gut?
And so exactly, so talking about how long, as in when you go gluten-free or dairy-free, when I have a client that needs to do this to see if they have changes, I would say 30 days for gluten, 4 weeks, give up gluten to see how your body responds. 8 weeks for dairy. It's it stays in your system for so long.
Mm.
But things can get affected. And one really, an example I can give you is I can have dairy, cow's dairy, and my body doesn't, my lipedema on the physically, I don't get pain, I don't swell, nothing shows. But I then get a really heavy menstrual cycle. That's inflammation. So it is doing something. So you've got to watch out for all levels, and it is really hard. And you know, there are some tests that we can do as well too, because this is where some foods might cause. Those are the three things that most people, like let's say most of the community, they're really big things that are easy. They're not always easy to cut out, but you know, they're easy to identify and remove. Whereas there's going to be individual things as well that could be causing you inflammation. But talking about inflammation, one of the things that I see a lot, and you will notice if you guys are on social media, fasting, that's one thing that we have been told to do. Intermittent fasting is amazing for your body. The problem that I see with it is, one, a lot of the research has been done around males when we are not males and they don't have a menstrual cycle. Now, I know a lot of the community and, you know, your viewers as well are in that menopause stage, so then you're not going to have a menstrual cycle. But you still have cortisol and you still wake up and you know, you still need to make sure that things are balanced. So for me, I always suggest if you're going to do intermittent fasting, try and stop your meal earlier in the evening so that you wake up and have your first meal an hour and a half of waking. Mm-hmm. So that it doesn't spike your cortisol. If you aren't hungry when you wake up first thing in the morning, that's actually a sign that things need some help. So you need to have some little snack just to get things started and tell your body that, oh my gosh, okay, you need to eat. We need to get that feeling. And, you know, once you start to feel hungrier over time, we know that we're starting to see a shift. So eating when you wake within an hour and a half, but also not having coffee on an empty stomach. That was a way that you're breaking a fast. We've been told, break your fast with a coffee, or you can have coffee in between that time. It is so taxing on your adrenals. It's not great for your cortisol. Once we raise our cortisol, that causes inflammation, but also insulin resistance. And most of us, already have a problem with our insulin. Mm-hmm. So these are just little tips that I feel I see out in the community, or I have women coming to me and they tell me, oh, I'm doing this, you know, and it's been great advice, but we haven't been given the full advice. Yeah, do intermittent fasting, great. But then we haven't been told what works better for our bodies. The other thing, if you still have a menstrual cycle, I only fast in the first stage, the luteal stage. I don't fast in the follicular stage. I only fast in the follicular stage. So once I get my period, then you have your follicular stage before ovulation, then you have your luteal stage before your period comes again. We need carbs in that luteal stage to create that progesterone, to create that beautiful lining on our womb. So we also, even if you don't want to have a baby, progesterone, you know, is so important. Our hormones are so important, and hormones play a big part in this condition.
And being happy.
Yes, and
sleeping. Talk about being happy.
And sleeping, right? Like these are things, and bone health. Like there's so much that goes into around our menstrual cycle. One of the biggest key, if you don't have a menstrual cycle, you don't have to, you know, take this on. But we know, and you know, Chelsey, you know, when you worked as a naturopath, the same as a nutritionist, your menstrual cycle tells you so much about your health.
Absolutely.
So those are really big things. And then the other one that I would be adding, like, so these are things that you guys can just be doing, start to incorporate now before trying to overhaul a big, you know, change and way of eating. You will, you know, try and nail these things that I'm talking about first before you try and, you know, take on other things. Having a really solid high protein breakfast is a game changer. Not only for your blood sugar levels, especially later on in the day, if you ever get that 3 p.m. crash, but there's research to show that, let's say me and Chelsey eat exactly the same amount of calories in a day. But I start my breakfast with a high protein, high calorie breakfast. Chelsey just goes and has a low protein, quick shake or something because she's busy and
Apple.
not that hungry. Yep, apple. But she still then gets the same amount of calories as me throughout the rest of the day. My just calories dip off, and I might have a lighter dinner or lunch. I will lose more weight than Chelsey did, even though we have exactly the same amount of calories in a day. So when we eat, what we eat, it really does have a big impact. The other thing is snacking. I actually had a question recently, like, what's your favorite go-to snacks? I will snack. I have a toddler at home. It's very hard not to snack, let me tell you, when you stay at home all day or you're out. But I know I'm having a really great day when I'm not hungry in between my meals and I don't feel like I need to snack. My body also thanks me the next day I wake up and I'm not swollen, because we need to keep our blood sugar levels steady. And so every time we put something in our mouth, we're going to have a spike no matter what. And so we want to make sure that when we come up, we're coming back down and keeping it down for long periods in time to help our insulin.
Yeah, no snacking.
No, yeah. So 3 meals, no snacking. If you're intermittent fasting as well, you're still actually eating the same amount of calories, but in a shorter window.
That's right.
We're not actually, the social media will show, like, and those anyone that's selling a diet will tell you to do intermittent fasting. You eat 2 meals or, because you're not hungry or whatever. And you don't, when especially like when you go into ketosis, if you're doing keto or carnivore, I actually had to force myself to eat. I didn't realize for a whole week I was under eating. I was having 1,300 calories and the only reason I knew is because I was watching the scales and I went, oh, I'm not losing weight. Why is this? And then I went, hang on, I better go track and just check what I've been eating. And I realized, wow, I've been having 1,300 calories. I was also ovulating. So my body was like, holy crap, no girl, you're not losing any weight. We need to preserve your energy in case you want to make a baby. And so it's really easy because your body starts to burn fat if you're doing a keto diet. And I just wasn't hungry. I was able to add the food in and bring up my calories up to like 1,800 just by chomping on some butter, as you do when you're doing keto. And as soon as I did that, the weight started to drop off again.
Yeah.
Mm.
So when it comes to food, we all pretty much know what's clean and what isn't, right? We're old enough and smart enough to know what's right and what's wrong. And if you do have to go through a month, 45 days of hard work to drop the sugar,
Yeah.
once you get through that time, honestly, it is so worth it.
Yeah.
It is so worth it, because we did a talk on gut health last Wednesday night and about parasites and candida and all those things that just love the sugar all of the time. So, getting that gut health right. So Jan just popped in here. She said, sure was. I did keto program and I took all the prescribed supplements and I lost 10 kilos in 8 weeks. Plus the biggest plus was I was able to sleep better. But unfortunately, I started back on carbs and I now have created a bigger issue for myself.
Yeah, that happened for me too with carnivore. I lost a little bit of weight. I had over Christmas, I had a pregnancy loss. So then my hormones fluctuated and I gained a lot of weight. And even eating the way that I was usually eating, it was just all the hormones. And I wanted to do the carnivore experiment for the reason of, let's see how this compares to what I would normally do as a tool to kind of get my, hormones back into check. And it worked, but I even did keto. Like after I've stopped the carnivore, I then went to keto for a week to give myself a little bit of a buffer and started to increase my carbs slowly. And then I gained 4 kilos in 2 weeks. And again, and then and no shift or anything. That doesn't happen when I do my other, like when I would normally do a reset. I would lose weight and I would just continue my usual weight of eating and it would be fine. My body wouldn't respond that way. And so I think if you can't sustain something, it makes it a really hard, approach, because you have to get into ketosis for it to work. That's a
Yeah.
really difficult place to have to stay in. But at the same time, like some women, you know, need something to really help reduce the pain. So I always think there's things that can be used as tools and they're okay short term. But exactly what we've just heard now is it can come all undone. And, you know, it's pretty disheartening because you just put in all this effort.
And then you get like a loss of a baby, like you get that trauma, you get that up and that down and all that emotional stuff again. And I just want to say, like, we're always going to have emotional stuff. You
Yes.
just think that you get through something, and guess what? You get thrown another one. And you never know where it's going to come from, what it's going to do. And in my coaching group, we were talking about this earlier in the week, and like we call it the shit pit, and you
Yes.
can just land yourself in the shit pit. And I think that when you realize and you go, oh, that's right, look at me. Like when you realize that you are in the shit pit, I think you can take a little bit of accountability, and then we can go, you know what? I might give myself a facial with this mud in this shit pit. I might just make a couple of mud balls, right? And make them into a cake or something. So I think that how we respond and at that nervous system response, and not going into a oh my god massive big drama for everything, with all that we've been through in the last 5 years, with all of this bullshit that we've been through. I think that has set us up. I think it's been a good thing to set us up to be resilient and to know that something can come out of left field and right field at the same time. And I think all of us standing here now or sitting here now, like a massive big congratulations for even turning up
Yeah.
to listen to us tonight, and to take this on and to want to do something to help yourself, even though there is so much against you.
Yeah. And I think that's a really good point because there's going to be setbacks. That's what we got to remember. I have, I eat the diet, like diet, because that's, food is my biggest tool. That is the one thing that I rarely stray from, in the sense like I might not do any of the conservative methods, but I know my diet is always solid. I love healthy food. I love cooking. But even with that, exact life happens. And there's going to be things, whether it's emotionally, hormonally, that just shift. And that's why you've got to have these tools. You have tools to help you get back. And
Yeah.
just remember, like it feels disheartening, but if you've got a solid way, if you know you're doing everything right for your body and it is working, and then you do have these setbacks and you've got a little tool to help you get back, it's just kind of going to be what we have to live with for the rest of, our life. And just know that, okay, yeah, I've just gained a little bit, but I can get back there. It is scary until you know and really trust your body in that way, because we always have that fear of progression.
It's a tool.
I have it too. So I bought these when I was pregnant, and I have to say it was I always have said, like, I always say that I'm the lazy girl when it comes to like doing stuff, but I think I was talking the other day to Nikki actually, and was telling her that it's not actually lazy. We have this chronic condition, like we're living with a chronic condition. So to have to dry brush, rebound, hop on the, vibration plate, wear your compression, make sure you get your steps in, go and do a little bit of exercise, make sure you're eating this, this, and this, and this. It's a lot of work. So mentally, I can do the eating side, but I don't do everything else. And so the gloves I bought when I was pregnant, and they were just the best. I've never gone back to one of those regular brushes. So, which I always had used since I was 19, on and off. I'm a girl that goes for periods of time of like, yeah, a couple of weeks here, a couple of weeks off. But I was trying to get rid of my cellulite back when I was 19 and bought one of those dry brushes. And now
Were you doing it in the correct sequence though?
I was definitely doing it towards my heart.
Okay.
Knew that part. But I definitely would have started at my feet.
Mm.
Yeah. I didn't learn that until I learned your sequence.
Yeah. So this can just be the one thing, right? The
Yeah.
one tool that you promise yourself that no matter what, I'm going to do my gloves every day. I'm going to massage my body. I'm going to get my lymph moving. I'm going to use my gloves. I'm going to allow myself 2 minutes of love and care by using the gloves, following the sequence, getting my lymphatic system moving. Because when you do that, I promise you, then you're going to want to drink more water. Then your digestion is going to start. So then you're going to be hungry to eat in the morning and have something better to eat. You are then going to maybe go for a walk, and like it will just start with a progression. So if you can just do one thing, you know, Aimee, your one thing is always having your great diet. I cannot say that for myself, that is going to be
I
my
still
always.
do my great diet. Like I still go out and have pizza but that's, things like that. I still drink alcohol. But day to day, every day, I eat. I love good food. And it's taken me years to get here as well. Like as in I had to heal that disordered eating. I had to heal from my binge eating. I had to form a great relationship with food to now also knowing and listening to my body. Like there is no way I could eat white sugar. It just would make me feel terrible. So it's not worth it for me. Plus I know, and my sweet tooth's gone because I've broken up with sugar. So, and I love cooking. For someone like I watch my husband cook and I've been with him for 20 years and still he has no idea. And it might take him 3 times as long to cook something that I cook. So I can see if you're not good in the kitchen, if you're not doing things like that, then it's really hard.
We said that we'd talk for 45 minutes and we're now is everyone still okay? Because I've just got a couple of more questions. We got the nod. Everyone's still okay for us to keep going. Thumbs up. Yes. Beautiful. Okay, so could you run us through what it looks like for a day in the life of Aimee?
Okay, yes. As in food wise? Because
As in everything wise.
okay. Well, I when I say I'm lazy, I am pretty lazy in that sense. Like I'm not someone that will get up and do exercise or whatever. I do go out walking with my toddler a lot. So I am moving in that sense. I used to be a gym girl or that, but I have not gone back to the gym since I've had Savannah. So that's like, she's 3, so 4 years being pregnant and stuff. So I start my day with a hot chocolate. A collagen hot chocolate is how I start my day.
Write this down, everyone.
Yeah. So that is, I make it myself. It's literally just almond milk, cacao, cinnamon. I love to put some mushrooms in there, as in, the mushroom powders and stuff. Changes depending what I feel like I'm needing. And then I'll put
mushrooms is really good for the immune system. So we can talk about the different supplements as we go through too.
I will then have I'll put collagen in it. So none of that collagen, that fancy stuff that you see, guys, that, is sold for beauty that costs $70 a packet. You do not need that. You just want a plain 100% bovine, porcine collagen that's possibly grass-fed, would be the best.
And in your program, Aimee, you help with diet, with food in particular, don't you? With the ladies doing the program with you.
The food is obviously the biggest focus, being a nutritionist, and then the acceptance. That goes hand in hand that we work towards. And so that's how I'll start. Then I would, have my breakfast, not straight away, just depending on how my morning's running, but that will usually be some type of eggs if I'm feeling like that. So I will make sure I have like these delicious, I call them brothy eggs, where I'll crack some eggs in some bone broth with some silver beet and some leek, is one of my favorite, or just kind of omelette-y scrambled eggs with some kale and parsley and sauerkraut topped on top. 2 eggs is not enough eggs either, guys. Like we've got to make sure, like I will usually, if I have my hot chocolate, then I can have 3 eggs, because then that's going to get me up to 30 grams. That would be my typical breakfast, is usually eggs. Sometimes I'm feeling like just a lighter something and I would go for a smoothie. But that's not all the time. That would probably be more getting closer to my period. I'd be like, oh, I'm craving something sweeter. I might want, some chocolate. I'll make like a chocolate smoothie. I don't have morning tea. And then lunch would usually, I love to have leftover dinner. That would be one of my biggest things, because time-wise, that just helps. Or I just will have some kind of protein where I've cooked some chicken thighs, and then not thighs, chicken legs with some rutabaga chips. So rutabaga is like a low carb, tastes like potato, a little bit bitter. And then a big side of spinach salad. And for me, dressing is everything. So you can make salad. I'm a big salad girl, so I'll just have that with dressing. And then I'll have some aioli as well for the fat. So that's dipping my chips in there. Afternoon tea is when I'll probably have my snacks. So that could either be like a turmeric latte. I might make some gummy lollies and have them in the fridge because my daughter loves them. And I just make them with kombucha, so it's low carb. Coconut yogurt with some raspberries. Super simple, super easy. And then dinner, I love so many different things. I would have chicken schnitzel that's crusted in almond flour. Always green vegetables like broccoli, or a salad, or I will make up a curry. I love curries. So it's always just trying to make those low carbs. Like if I have bolognese, because, that's such a delicious meal and you have a toddler, I would serve my meal. So a lot of my meals and recipes that I make are for the family, but you just change the pasta for zucchini zoodles. Or if I have butter chicken, I don't have the rice, I'll have the konjac rice. But then Sean and Savannah would get quinoa or pasta or rice with theirs. So I'm not making two different meals. It's one meal, but then the sides around it are low carb. So that's how my day would typically look. And I always love everything that I put on my plate, so that I feel satisfied. That's one way that you don't keep looking for other food. Prep has to come into it if you don't have the time to cook your meal every day. Always bulk, like for me, cooking more so I have the lunch. That's a big one. Lunch is my hardest meal, as in staying on track is what I would say, because I find that time-wise, like you might be stuck out and you're really hungry. What are you going to eat? So if I have leftovers, that makes it super easy. Because if I go too long with it from food, that's when I would find that the binge would happen, because I'm so hungry and then I have something I don't feel satisfied because I haven't made anything so delicious. And when I was recovering from my binge eating disorder, I had to finish my meal with something sweet. That was the only way I could stop. Like I actually stopped, my binging until I recovered from that. And now I don't need to. If I'm going to have like a quick meal that's not that satisfying, I will have something sweet at the end, like a punnet of strawberries or something to just give me that satisfaction.
Delicious. That's all I can say. Did anybody else vote for delicious? Oh my God.
I do have all these. I have a meal planner. So I have these all recipes that I eat and enjoy in a meal planner. That you guys can get if you want to. But yeah, food is my thing. Yeah, food is my thing. And I've always said, like, I can make any meal taste delicious. It's kind of like my little, superpower. My family, my brothers and stuff, they're just excited to come over. They hate coming to my house in the sense because they open my fridge. There's no snacks. There's no condiments. You have to make everything from scratch. And they're just like, but Aimee will make it. It's fine. So yeah.
Yum. And I think that we can get stuck in a rut with what we eat, can't we? We can just get used to the same thing. And then if somebody else comes and gives us an idea of, oh yeah, oh that's right, I can use konjac noodles. Oh, that's right, I can have cauliflower as rice. And then I can have zucchini in my spaghetti bolognese. It's, oh, that's right. So coming to you and seeing you as a lipedema nutritionist to help break up that relationship with sugar, and just get those ideas back again, because you can just forget sometimes what's straight in front of your face. You just need someone to come in and hold your hand a little bit and say, all right, well, what about this? And not look at you as if you should know that. And that.
It's so hard. You've got to remember you're outside on your day going to work. Buses are driving past. They've got, advertisement. You turn the TV on, it's advertisement. You're at the bus stop, on the sides of the roads, there's advertisement. We are geared to see these messages, not even realizing we're going to crave, these certain foods. And the packaging food, like the packages, you don't realize how much sugar is in a lot of these foods that you have not even realized. the labels, all the hidden sugars. There's over 50 different names for sugars. So you might be eating something and thinking it's healthy and it's not.
Mm. Mm. Okay, so tell us about your program, babe, and how people can work with you.
Okay, so at the moment, I am coming to the end of running a 12-week program, Transforming Lipedema. And we focus on a new module each week of nutrition and acceptance. So for me, the biggest goal that I want everyone that I run through the program is by the end of the 12 weeks, they just have stepped closer to that acceptance and reach their goal of, if that is wearing your swimmers or just wearing shorts, or just actually making sure you're not sitting on the sidelines anymore. But throughout this, we work on gut health, just getting a really big understanding what's going on in your own body. I teach you how to read your own blood tests so that you can advocate for yourself. Obviously, not everything on that blood test you're going to understand, but if you can flag something, because this, Chelsey, how many times would you have seen a client and they come back and say, the doctor said everything's fine, but their insulin is way over, their thyroid, levels are not, we want things in the optimal range, especially for this condition. So I teach you guys how to spot those things so that you can either address them yourself if, there's something that is okay to do that, or seek someone else's advice to address those things. But yeah, so I will be running that again probably in June, July will be the next cohort, next round of that.
Okay, so for people to get in touch with you just through your website, and you're in our boob camp too.
Yeah, I am in there.
Yeah. So we can go to that. One question that I wanted to ask was, who do we go to get diagnosed? What are the steps? So if you do see somebody in the street, or if you are talking to somebody, where would you send them to for the next steps?
This one's a hard one because I actually don't know names of that, as in the doctors around, but it would be a vascular surgeon. So for me, I actually went to a MLD therapist because I thought they will know. Most of them will know, VODA trained, I think it is. They're not allowed to diagnose though. So for me, that was my first step. And I went in there not saying anything to see what they would say to me. And they picked it up straight away and said, oh, hey, I think you might have this. And I did that because back when I was 32, I was like, when I first started telling people I think I have this condition, everyone was like, Aimee, you're being ridiculous. So I was kind of like, how can I go about this in a way that maybe feels more okay for me to then, instead of seeking out someone to diagnose, a vascular surgeon. So someone, they're usually the ones that will be able to diagnose you. OTs and physiotherapists also could know about this condition, but it's actually, they've got to have a really good understanding of this condition. That's the other thing. We do have plastic surgeons, or cosmetic surgeons, I think some of them are, that specialize in this condition. They will give you a diagnosis. They're going to be the expensive route. And then you're also going to go in there and they're going to, possibly give you a quote for surgery at the same time. So,
And when you do go down that route, which is perfectly fine to do, I've been to on the Gold Coast here and been into the in with the surgeons, and then they have to do the test for the hole in the heart first. Is one of the first testing things that they do, and there's some other testing things. I'm terrible when it comes to that. I stood there and I nearly fainted. I can't. I'm not good at those types of things. But I went through the whole process just to go through the process. But you and I both know Shelley Piers from the Lipoedema podcast. Yeah. She has a really good community, and with doctors of asking questions, or who should I go to? Because if you do want to go down the medical route, which is perfectly fine to do, so the conservative way of looking after your lipedema is really concentrated on, like we said, massaging your body, using your gloves, using the lymphatic cream, using the compression. Using our pneumatic compression has made a massive difference. I think Sue Ellen in the group here, she shared with me that she lost 4 kilos or 8 kilos since using her gloves and her compression in a matter of like 2 or 3 weeks, like in a like very small amount of time. And like you can do those they call them conservative, but it's hard work, like bouncing on your trampoline, doing your body stuff. But you can also choose to go down the medical route and have the surgery. Absolutely.
I think it's life changing. I think it needs to be a tool accessible for everyone if they choose. Like that's everyone's right. You know, some women absolutely do need it. They haven't had the advantage of knowing about this condition, you know, in their teens or in their 20s. So it is something that I think I wish it was covered as well. But in doing that, you still have to look after your body and do all these other things that we're talking about today.
Yes.
You
Yes.
know?
So no matter if you are going to go down the surgery side, double up.
Yes.
If you aren't going down the surgery side, double up. Like you're going to have to do this more because we didn't even talk about like the mesh of how all of the tissue just causes one big road jam, right, in your body, and that's what stops the fluid from moving through. And but you do have bad fat, diseased fat, but you do have still great fat that we can work with in your body in that area. So it's that good fat that you have to keep working and replacing and make sure the outer lining of the fat cells and everything is being able to metabolize and work. Yeah?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Any last questions, Colette? I went to a vascular surgeon for vein work about 2 years ago at 62. He was the first person to ever say, "You have lipedema." Uh, Fantastic chat, Aimee and Chelsey. Thank you. You're both amazing. Thank you, Colette. Like, where does turning up, right?
Yeah. Like, and I think so many of these things, like we, you know, when you can help the community, like as in, and work with it. For me, because I have this condition, it's such I guess I get a very different aspect on what can, happen. Like I can see Nikki over there. Hello, Nikki. She's so, I've worked with Nikki. We're going to Bali in a couple of weeks together.
Yay.
Yeah. For, a lipedema retreat that I'm running. And I just think being able to not only be with the community, but, be part of it, but help it. It's just, I really feel so privileged to put almost give back to the community, but my own experiences but then with my knowledge from nutrition and then also with my own experimenting, it's just such a cool thing to be able to then be like, hey, just want to know, let you know, like, this is what's working for me. Like, it's a really cool side of being a nutritionist, but living with it.
Sue Ellen, I got my gloves in November and then 2 weeks ago I weighed myself and I had lost 4 kilos. And then I got my compression suit on the 25th of last month and I've lost another 4 kilos with the suit. So so if you are a pracky, turn your mics on. Turn your mics on, jump in, and let's have a quick little chat. I'm going to go to view gallery. Where am I? Is Liana still here? Nikki, you're a pracky.
Yeah.
Yeah. Liana must have nicked off. But here she is. Liana's here too. And these ladies are also here to help in the community. So in boob camp, if you've got any questions, Nikki's gone through a lot with her lipedema. She's had her surgery as well and lining up for some more. Nikki?
Not at this stage. I want to do as much as I can now before I go back in again. So I just put a comment in. The scar tissue from my surgeries is so extensive, it does challenge the lymphatics. So, I put there that the gloves help, but, there's a lot of keloid scarring and there's a, pretty deep wound there, I suppose. Well, not wound, but scarring. So if I can get more of my weight off and somehow not avoid more surgery, I'll do it, because it is quite traumatic. I've had 3 surgeries and 20 litres of lipedema taken out of me thus far. So there's still a lot to go.
Thank you, Jan. And if anybody needs to sign off, yeah, loved having you on here. Thank you so much for showing up. And if you've got any takeaways, share it in Boob Camp group. Okay, let us know what your takeaways are. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for being part of this group. And this is what we want to do. We just want to bring real stories and real ways to look after yourself in ways that you might not get from the standard medical world these days as we see it. So thanks, Nick. And Liana, so you've been really brave too, stepping out, sharing your ankles, sharing your knees, showing everybody all over the world what your body is going through. And also you've put together a breathwork program to help too. So yeah, babe, did you want to say anything?
I just wanted to say how deeply seen I felt, Aimee, by your shares tonight. Especially as I start sharing my journey around this too, and a lot of the things you spoke about, I've resonated with really deeply, and from me starting to share my story now, I'm seeing so much suffering within women. I'm seeing myself as a younger version of me. And I know that the work that I'm doing now is helping support all of that. And I think the more that we get together as a collective of women who are passionate about speaking to it, I think we're going to reach a lot more people and just give them the hope, right? That you can actually change the outlook and the outcome of what your life can be.
Yeah, I think, and and it's funny because being like a nutritionist and stage 1, I didn't think when I started out of this that acceptance would be such a big part of my journey, but actually what I help women with.
It's huge.
Yeah, like I just didn't think that's what a big part of my offerings are. My 12-week program, or going to Bali, the whole Bali retreat that's happening in a couple of weeks is literally about acceptance, being in that community together, showing our legs. And for the first time, on a holiday, imagine being around other people. Like that's how it started. Imagine being in a group of women that all have this condition, holiday, and not have to think about anything around you. But yeah, I really encourage you guys to step into that, journey of self-acceptance. And I know so many people go, no, there's no way I could. There's no way I will. I had one of my girls on my 12-week program wear a towel into the pool and make her children turn around so they couldn't even see her walk into the pool. And she's only a stage 1 as well. And by the end of the program, she said, there's no way, Aimee, because I was like, no, you have to write that down. I want that to be, your goal, when she shared that story. And by the end of it, she now just goes and walks in. And that seems so easy, right? Like, why would you not show up in front of your own children and, without in your swimmers? But it's just how much we've hidden ourselves. And yeah, it's time that we don't. It's time that we change the narrative.
Babe. Leonie?
Yes, love.
You're one of our prackies as well. Did you want to share anything?
Oh, well, I know that when I first met you, as you know, you keep on saying, Leonie was walking around with a walker because my balance was terrible, my legs were sore and things like that, and now I don't need my walker. So I've come a long way with the support of you, Chelsey, and the group, and I just think it's great. All I now have to do is get myself a little bit fitter so that I can go to Africa.
Yes.
Go you.
Absolutely.
The question I would like to ask, though, the rebounder or the wobble board, whatever it's called, is there one that's better than the other? And I'm not talking about in name. I'm just saying, is it better to use the little jogger, or is it better to use the Roberts rocking horse?
Which one are you going to use?
Well, I haven't got either, so that's why I'm asking. Which way is the better way to go?
I think for you it may be the
Vibration.
vibration pad. Yes.
Okay, all right. Then I'll have find that.
Yep. Get on to Marketplace. You'll find one for $30.
Okay.
And then and make sure it's oscillating.
Oscillating?
Oscillating, yeah. So it moves side to side and
Yeah, yeah.
but if you, depending on your age, other people as well, if you're wondering which is better or not, it's again exactly what Chelsey said, depending on who you are. But you like one isn't better, if that makes sense, because they're both amazing. For me, I don't have to jump, so I choose my vibration machine anytime because I would probably start jumping and just stop and walk off, where other women just love it. So you can also sit down on that vibration machine, but yeah, you can also do them. But and they
because I'm 77 and I keep on thinking I'll be jogging on that tramp, peeing myself.
No, don't do that.
Yeah, I think I already do that. I'm not 77.
Well, I will have a look at the bride lady. That'll be lovely. Thanks, girls.
Leonie, you and I will just go to a shop and bounce on a trampoline together and just take photos because I think that'll be hilarious.
With our bras off?
Of course, like black eyes.
Jesus.
Yeah, anyway, that'll be fun. Did anybody else want to share? The microphone is yours. No? Beautiful. Okay, so Aimee, thank you so much for being so open and honest and sharing with us tonight.
No, thanks for having me.
And I think everybody will reach out a little bit more too, because you're creating this community, you're creating this space that is perfectly what we need. And like joining up with Liana, doing the breath work and like bringing, who have we got there? Who was that? Katie MG7, that little boy with his
Hung out.
Listening. I'm so glad that he's listened in to this and learning how to look after us ladies. That was beautiful. It reminds me, I'm going to share, but it reminds me of one of our boob camps, not the last one, but probably a couple before. I said to everyone, okay, you know the rules, bras off, not allowed to wear a bra during boob camp. And, I don't even care if your tits are out, blah, blah, blah. I said all that. But one lady actually did, but didn't realize that her camera was still
on. That's brilliant.
And just say her name was Sally. Sal, we can sort of see all of you. And then she's like, and then ran. It was
so funny. Oh yeah, I've never really worn a bra. I love it, and so now when it's good for your lymphatic system,
so good.
Don't wear them or undies. So
that's right.
No undies. My husband literally will go, have you got undies on today before I leave the house? Or no, when I go out, if I'm going out by myself, he'll be like, have you got undies on?
No.
But I'm happy to, because I am in your Facebook group as well. If there's questions or whatever, totally happy if you post those ones as well, and I can jump on there sometime and respond if there's anything.
Thanks, Ellen.
At me.
All right. Well, I'm going to dream about all of your fantastic food. I definitely am going to get on. So do we get onto your website to download a food diary? How do we get onto that?
You can find it at, so the Lippy Nutritionist.
Lippy, Lippy.
Nutritionist.com.
Nutritionist.com.
Yeah, and that's got everything on there that, all my offerings and stuff. And then I also have a Facebook group as well that does have lots of free recipes and just info on nutrition just for Lippy as well. And I sometimes do lives. I'm not as active in there as my Instagram, just because, time, there's lots of time, not as much time with a toddler.
Oh, and I've just seen Tracy's face down here as well. So Tracy's one of my prackies as well. She's on Coochie. So she's dealt with a lot of lymphedema and lipedema clients too. So yeah, Love seeing all these beautiful faces. Thank you, everybody, for showing up. Thank you once again, Aimee. Ladies, if you have anything that you would like, or any person that you'd like me to have on board and interview and talk to rawly and truthfully, like we do each time, please let me know, because it's always a great chat with you all. I get to like share all of my knowledge too, because Aimee, that's the biggest thing, right? Is being able to share what we know. There's no point taking it to our grave. We want to share everything that we know with you.
Yes, exactly. And I think that that's such a good point, because there's only so much, even, like as a nutritionist or a naturopath, school can take you so far, but a lot of the work that we do and the findings are out in the field with science and research that way, working.
I learned jack shit at college. I learned nothing.
But I remember leaving college and thinking, how am I going to be a nutritionist? And then it was all in my prac hours and all out on the field, that then you're like, oh, okay, no, I'm all good. But I remember leaving going, whoa. And then speaking to so many girls graduating as well after me. And I was like, don't worry. I promise you learn everything out on the field.
My nutrition lecturer, she taught us like the nutrition that we know now, but she said, okay, for the exam coming up, the exam has to like tick the boxes of the government. So it has to be about the stupid, like the pyramid. So she said the answers is A, C, D, A, B, D, A. Like she told us the answers to the exam, didn't teach us any, because it was all complete bullshit, what we had to do to keep the government happy, what we had to learn to keep the government happy. But then she would teach us what we need to know now.
Yeah. Yes, we had very similar things to that as well. And I remember being like, how am I supposed to reference that when there's not a real reference to, to go off kind of thing. So it does make it hard when there's not as much research and money in these areas.
Well, we've got a government that wants to keep us sick, and that's it. So you're not going to get your answers that way. Okay, I'm going to turn off before I start going conspiracy theorist, lady. Okay.
All right. Thank you so much.
Big love, everyone.
Thanks, ladies.
Okay, good night. Bye.
Bye.
Big love.